What's going on, folks? This is Mr. Coley on Noir, and I'm gonna continue my Glock 30 rant as far as the best concealed carry 45 on the market. And this video is basically not so much a review of the Kimber Stainless Pro Carry 2 as it is the Glock 30 versus 1911. I mean, look at it. There's really not much to say. And there's something about the 1911 that just screams gun. Like, granted, it's 100 years old, but it's just very classic gun-like. And the detailing and just the overall look of the gun isn't so much menacing and imposing as it is a wonder. When you have things like a skeletonized trigger, a beaver tail, the grip safety, skeletonized hammer, Novak night sights, I mean, what do you like? What comes to mind? It isn't menacing and imposing gun. These things sound like a menu out of a catalog for Victoria's Secret. And the 1911 is just a pretty gun, deadly but pretty. The 1911 is so pretty, in fact, that it's almost disrespectful for me to put the 1911 down and pick up a Glock 30 and force you to look at this gun after I just had that 1911 up on the screen. So when it comes to looks, the Glock 30 sucks, and it just loses in so many ways. Let's look at this trigger on the 1911. 1911 trigger is excellent, and I've yet to really honestly pick up a 1911, pull the trigger, and feel a certain kind of way about it. That was outside of the realm of really good. It's just like that, just like that. And the reset, like that's the gift for your reset right there. That right there. So out of the box, this gun is just inherently going to be more accurate, and you're going to be a better, more or less shooter with this particular gun. Glock 30, on the other hand, I really won't say on the other hand, more or less, because though the trigger isn't going to be as refined as the 1911, the trigger on the Glock is good. You get a really audible reset and tactile reset, and then you break. So the initial pull on the Glock may not be as good as the 1911. So it's not like you're just going from a 10 to a 1. The trigger on 1911 is good. I mean, trigger on a Glock is really good for the most part. But if you look, and it just breaks. So the 1911 has a better trigger, but it has a better trigger in the sense that I'd give the trigger on the 1911 a 10 and give the one on the Glock a 9.5. Or maybe 8. All right, a 9. Now, the ergonomics on the 1911 are a step above anyone else's. It's a thin gun, and it points naturally, it fits in your hand, and then your hand goes right up under this beaver tail to engage the grip safety, and then boom, you're good to go. I really like that about the 1911. It points straight, it feels good in your hand, it's not overimposing, it's not too big, it's not too small. It works, I'm not gonna lie, it really does. The ergonomics on the Glock 30, it is a lot better with the SF. If this were a regular 30, the 1911 will blow it out of the water. But I have to be honest with you, and maybe it might just be the size of my hands, but the Glock 30 SF is really good from an ergonomic standpoint. It feels good in hand. Not as good as a 1911, but you still get the same bore access that you get on all Glocks. And comparable to the 1911, I almost think the bore access on the Glock is a lot better than the one on the 1911, making it easier to shoot. I'm just saying. But I like the ergonomics on the 1911. It feels more refined. The Glock seems to be more utilitarian as far as the ergonomics are concerned. But the ergonomics are there. They are good. They are nothing to be laughed at. So the 1911 is more comfortable. It feels more comfortable in hand. It feels sexier. It does. But it's just something about this bore access that you get with the Glock that has been unmatched. I've yet to see a gun that you get a bore access this high. I just haven't. And you don't get that with the 1911. You don't. So I think the bore access on the Glock kind of puts it in the same realm as the 1911 in that regard. But the 1911, it does just feel better. I get a better emotional feel. At the end of the day, here's why I would more or less basically carry the Glock 30 over the 1911. The 1911 in this Stainless Pro Carry 2 series comes with 8 rounds. You get 8 rounds versus the 10 that you get with the Glock 30. 10 plus 8, probably gonna go with the 10. Then on top of that, the Glock 30, when you add the flush floor plate, is actually gonna be a lot more concealable. As far as the weight is concerned, these guns are both heavy. And with the full metal frame of the stainless steel Pro Carry, the gun's gonna be maybe even more heavy. But with the Glock 30, you get the concealability factor. You can conceal this gun way better than you can this 1911. There's just nothing you're gonna tell me that's gonna counter that. Now the 1911 is slimmer. So if the crux of your carry conceal problems deals with the actual width of the gun, then maybe the 1911 will probably be a better bet. But from a concealed carry standpoint, I just really believe that the 30 is just going to be a better concealable gun. The same rig and setup that you're going to have for the 1911, considering its size, you more or less would have with the Glock 30. The only difference is that you get more rounds. Not only that, the Glock 30 shoots softer than the 1911. I know some people are going to be like, no way in hell. But personally, I've shot both guns, 1911 and the 30. And the 30 is a lot softer shooting gun than the 1911. That's just from my experience. This is not just me being a Glock fanboy, but the Glock 30 is just a softer shooting weapon, period. Now, as far as accuracy, the inherent accuracy in a 30 it's a freak of nature. It doesn't make any sense. It's not supposed to be as accurate as it is, but it is. That's the only thing I can say, because I honestly don't know why it's so accurate, but the gun is dead on accurate. And the 1911, shooting the two, honestly, I didn't really notice a marked difference between the accuracy between the 1911 and the Glock 30. Don't get me wrong, I like the 1911, I really do. They're beautiful guns and they're sexy, but man, the Glock 30 just works as a concealed carry 45. If I'm going to conceal carry 45, it's going to be a Glock. And let's not kid ourselves here. If you're going to talk to me about reliability, there's no way in the world you're going to look at me with a straight face and tell me honestly that you feel that the Glock 30 is going to be better than that the 1911 is going to be more reliable than the Glock 30, especially when we start talking about commercial production type 1911s. There's no way you're going to be able to tell me that with a straight face. Now, the 1911 does have a lot of things going for it as far as the sights and the ability to more or less get your shots on target due to the trigger. But the Glock is just an easier gun to use. It's simple. But every day, getting your gun in and out of the holster, subjecting it to the elements, and everything else that the gun encounters whenever you're concealed carrying, I have to be honest with you that the Glock 30 does it better. And I feel more comfortable with the Glock 30 than I would with the 1911. As much as I look at this 1911 and look how beautiful it is, because I think the gun is absolutely amazingly beautiful, I'd still run with the Glock from a utilitarian standpoint. I'd get the 1911 and put it up in my house and make it look pretty. She'd be a safe queen. But man, the Glock is a contender. It really is.